In the United States, there are fewer than 2 days of campaigning left before voters take to the polls to choose a new president. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are keeping up a frantic pace of appearances, hoping to convince the remaining undecided voters in a very tight race. Our international editor Emma Murphy reports from Michigan, where she has been following the Harris campaign.
It is the week America decides on who will lead this country and the future direction of their nation. For Vice President Harris, it was a day for Mass and prayers with the faithful in the crucial state of Michigan.
In just 2 days, we have the power to decide the fate of our nation. And as we prepare for that moment, I am reminded of a passage from Scripture. For I know the plans I have for you. They are the plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope.
God bless the USA.
For former President Trump, it was to Pennsylvania, another crucial state, and his own faithful, with rather less prayerful language.
You have to tell Kamala that you've had enough, Kamala. You've had enough. You're the worst ever. Kamala, you're fired. Get the hell out of here.
Both candidates know these are their final opportunities to sway those whose votes are still up for grabs. And they are selling their visions of the future.
I've come today with a message of hope for all Americans. With your vote on Tuesday, I will end inflation. I will stop the invasion of massive numbers of criminals that have come into our country.
The polls remain so close as to offer no particular guidance as to who may emerge victorious. The direction of this nation of 346 million resting on the votes of a tiny percentage in just a few states.
It is time for a new generation of leadership in America. And I am ready to offer that leadership as the next president of the United States of America.
She's bolstering her message with celebrities of differing ages. John Bon Jovi and Alicia Keys with a message for the younger generation. Last night, Harris made a diversion to New York to appear on primetime TV.
Any chance you are registered in Pennsylvania?
With the comedian who impersonates her.
Well, it was worth a shot. And live from New York
But for all the laughter, no one is in any doubt this is one of the most, if not the most, consequential elections in American history. Emma Murphy, ITV News, Michigan.
Our US correspondent Dan Rivers has been following the Trump campaign. Dan, Mr. Trump is there in the swing state of North Carolina, but he's had some potentially unsettling news from another state that he thought he didn't need to worry about.
Yeah, this is a poll out of Iowa by a very well-respected pollster, Ann Selzer, who's been described as the Iowa polling queen. Now, she's just come out with a poll suggesting that Kamala Harris is in fact leading Donald Trump in Iowa by 47 to 44. That's totally surprising. It could be dismissed as an outlier, as the Trump campaign has suggested it's an absurd outlier in their words. But it may have also tapped into an important trend that may not have been picked up in other polls, which is that when you dig into the data of this poll, older, white, non-college women appear to be breaking for Harris quite late in this election, and that could be significant. There's more women than there are men in the US, and women tend to turn out and vote with much more regularity than young men do, and that's the demographic that Donald Trump has been particularly going after in the last couple of weeks.
And Dan, how will Mr. Trump be spending the final 36 hours before the polls open?
Yeah, we're into this kind of last sprint, really, aren't we now, into the final poll day. So, look, he's here in North Carolina. He's off to Georgia next. Then he comes back to North Carolina tomorrow, then up to Pennsylvania, finally in Grand Rapids, Michigan, for his last big event before the night of the election, which he'll spend down in West Palm Beach in Florida.